Chapter 91. Heaven Price Auction, Origin Bank. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 91. Heaven Price Auction, Origin Bank. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Lu Yuan's thoughts flew, then he couldn't help but laugh. Why are you thinking so much? Anyway, it doesn't have much to do with us. Can you even afford the starting price, let alone 10 million? He had just started and wasn't even considered a big shot of Daki Planet, let alone other things. This kind of thing, let the big shots fight for it. Just watch the show. Everyone was speechless. This is so heart-wrenching, brother. Zhuoming couldn't help but laugh. Brother Yuan, you're right. Only the major powers can compete for this. While they were chatting, the voice in the air rang out. Number B321 bids 1.2 million crystals. Along with the auction, there was a heavy voice. This inheritance crystal belongs to my Hulu family. Whoever dares to snatch it is starting trouble with us. Number B303 bids 1.4 million crystals. Hee. They're just a dirty kobold family. What can they do to us elves? This crystal of inheritance, our Sarah tribe wants it. B301 bids 2 million crystals. I'm sorry, but our Tianfu Financial Group would like to compete. Lu Yuan was a little speechless as he heard the voices coming from the private rooms. He had thought that there was a rule that one could not argue here, and that everyone was so quiet when bidding. It turned out that the previous auction items were not enough to cause them to quarrel. Right now, they were so excited that they were about to cordially greet each other's family. One could only imagine how precious this inheritance crystal was. Lu Yuan's heart was filled with joy. He sat on the sofa and picked up an apple to eat. Watching the distinguished guests quarrel one by one, he looked like he was watching a show. It was none of his business anyway, so it was good to watch the show. Number B247 bids 9 million crystals. Everyone, stop fighting. How about giving the thing to our Weimi Financial Group? So as not to hurt our relationship. Number B348 bids 10 million crystals. F*CK off, you dog-headed people. Seeing the price of the inheritance crystal quickly breaking through 10 million, Lu Yuan expressed that he was a little envious. He was starting to regret it. If such an ordinary high-tech weapon technology could be sold for so much money, then wouldn't black steel strength be even more expensive? If he had known earlier, he would have been rich. However, Lu Yuan was just thinking about it. The black steel strength had brought him a lot of improvement. When he had the chance to turn the black steel force into an inheritance crystal, he could consider selling it. At this moment, everyone was watching the distinguished guests fight over the items. Everyone looked up to him, their hearts aching. It was difficult for them to take out thousands of crystals, but this guy could take out tens of millions of crystals. Why was there such a huge difference between people? Destroy, my heart is tired. In the end, the Frost Wolf Frost Cannon's inheritance crystal was won by the person in room B233 at the price of 22.64 million crystals. This time, Lu Yuan knew who was in the private room. It was someone from the elf race. It must be a big tribe to be able to produce so many spiritual crystals. After the unexpected inheritance crystal was sold at a high price, the construct was still calm. The auction ends here. As he spoke, he sank into the black platform. In the private room, Grimm and the others were still immersed in the high price of over 20 million and were a little slow to react. Lu Yuan glanced at them and smiled. It's over. We can go now. Only then did everyone come back to their senses. Is it over? Oh my God. He took more than 20 million crystals just like that. He's too rich. I can brag about today's auction for the rest of my life. Zhuoming jumped up with excitement. Grimm stood up and said with a smile, "Let's go," he said. I'll go get the spiritual crystals first, Lu Yuan said with a smile. After the auction was over, he could go and retrieve the spirit crystals he had earned from the auction. Grimm smiled and said, we also auctioned an elite weapon. Let's go together. Lu Yuan nodded. The group of them walked out of the private room and happened to see Lu Shi walking out as well. Lu Shi's face was filled with regret. After seeing Lu Yuan, he walked over and poured out his grievances. Brother Lu Yuan, what a pity. I didn't get the inheritance crystal, otherwise, it would be perfect. Lu Yuan smiled. Supervisor Lu, you've managed to bid for quite a number of things this time. It's not bad, I guess. Ha ha ha. That was true. You're going to get the spirit crystals? Yes. Then I won't go with you. I have to go back and deal with the things I took this time. I'll come and play with you next time. Lu Shi bade farewell with a smile and left with his men. Lu Yuan and the others were led by a construct to the place where the items were previously auctioned. There were hundreds of people who had come to collect items and spiritual crystals. Lu Yuan waited for a while before it was his turn. After entering the small room, the light in the construct's hand swept over Lu Yuan's Jin battle tattoo and said, Human, the items you put up for auction were sold for 270,000 crystals. After deducting the 10% handling fee, it's a total of 243,000 crystals. The construct then took out a white card. This is an unbound bank card from the Origin Bank. All the spirit crystals are in it. You can go to the Origin Bank to withdraw them at any time. Lu Yuan took the bank card. When his thoughts landed on the card, he could see the balance of the crystals inside. It was indeed 243,000 crystals. Origin Bank was a special building, just like the auction house and the dueling ground. Crystals could be stored inside, and they could be directly swiped in any of the consumer areas in the land of origin. If he were to make a deal with a genetic warrior, he would need the other party to have an Origin Bank card. You needed at least 100,000 crystals to apply for an Origin Bank card. Lu Yuan didn't have many spirit crystals before, so he didn't apply for one. He didn't expect to take an unbound one. The bound bank card could only be used by him, while the unbound bank card could naturally be used by anyone. Lu Yuan put away the bank card and planned to open an account later to transfer the crystals to his own card. After leaving the small room, it was Grimm's turn to collect the crystals. Zhuoming and the others were waiting outside, and only Grimm went in to get the crystals. After coming out, a smile was on Grimm's face. He was clearly in a good mood. Zhuoming and the others immediately went over. After seeing Zhuoming and the others' eager eyes, Grimm couldn't help but laugh. There are too many people here. Let's find a place with no one around and we'll split the money. Grimm looked at Lu Yuan and smiled. Lu Yuan, we've gained a lot today. Since you've brought us into the private room, we'll treat you to a meal. Lu Yuan thought for a moment and shook his head, refusing, I'll pass today. I have something to do later. Maybe next time. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Grimm did not insist. Alright, I'll contact you next time. The group left the auction house. Lu Yuan bade farewell to Grimm and the others, then walked in the direction of the Origin Bank. The Genesis Bank was also located in the center of Sandstone City, but it was on the other side of the central square, opposite the auction house. Lu Yuan went straight through the central square and arrived at the Origin Bank. The Origin Bank was the tallest building Lu Yuan had ever seen. It was much higher than the Martial Arts Center. The bank's main door was 50 to 60 meters wide, and there were 4 tall constructs standing on both sides. They were the guards of the Origin Bank. Lu Yuan looked around. Compared to other special buildings, Origin Bank could be considered relatively deserted. He only saw a genetic warrior entering the gate. Not far away, there were some genetic warriors passing by. They would occasionally look over. When they saw Lu Yuan walking toward the bank, all the genetic warriors revealed looks of surprise, envy, or jealousy. Lu Yuan was not surprised. Opening an account required 100,000 crystals, which wasn't something an ordinary genetic warrior could afford. Anyone who could take out so many spirit crystals was definitely a top figure in Sandstone City. Such people were naturally rare. After entering the Origin Bank, they saw that the hall was extremely luxurious. The floor and walls were made of gold, and the 10-meter-high ceiling was hung with gorgeous crystal lamps. It was obvious that they were expensive. Lu Yuan took a look and could not help but exclaim. As expected of the Origin Bank, a place to store money. He asked the machine and found the hall to open an account. There was no one in the hall to open an account, except Lu Yuan. There were 4 counters on one side, and a construct stood behind each counter. Lu Yuan walked to the first counter on the left. "Human, do you want to open an account?" The construct looked at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan nodded. "Do you have 100,000 spiritual crystals?" Lu Yuan handed over the unbound bank card. The construct only took one look, and a white card with strange lines on it appeared in its hand. "Stick the card on your Geno battle rune." Lu Yuan raised his right hand and placed the battle rune on the card. The Gene battle runes flashed and merged into the card. "Alright, it's already your personal bank card." The construct handed the card to Lu Yuan. "It's that fast." Lu Yuan was stunned. It's that fast, but he still took the card. Instantly, the card's information appeared in Lu Yuan's mind. Origin Bank Card, Normal, Exclusive. Lu Yuan, Private Message, Deposit. 0, Private Information. Lu Yuan took a look. Whether it was exclusive or savings, they were all private messages, which meant that only Lu Yuan could see them. Unless Lu Yuan was willing to let others see it. Did Origin Bank cards have different levels? Lu Yuan thought about it. Even bank cards in the real world had different levels due to different deposits, so it was normal for Origin Bank cards to have different levels. Chapter 92. White Cloud Continent. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 92. White Cloud Continent. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. After getting the bank card, Lu Yuan stuck the previous unbound bank card and the exclusive bank card together. With a thought, he transferred the crystals in the unbound bank card to his personal bank card. The information on his personal bank card changed. Origin Bank Card, Normal, Exclusive. Lu Yuan, Private Message, Savings. 243,000 Rank 0 crystals. Private Message, Spirit crystals were apprentice level, also known as Rank 0. Lu Yuan kept his personal bank card with satisfaction. When Lu Yuan walked out of the bank, the sky had already darkened. Lu Yuan was also a little hungry. The auction had been going on for a day, from morning to night. It was normal for Lu Yuan to be hungry. He didn't plan to do anything else today. He randomly found a shop opened by a human genetic warrior, ate something, and returned to his rented house to rest. After washing up, Lu Yuan lay on the bed and thought about what to do next. The auction had ended, and he could leave Sandstone City. However, leaving Sandstone City and heading to other cities, they would pass by many high-level dire beast territories. It was easy to encounter powerful dire beasts, and they might even encounter rank 2 or even rank 3 dire beasts. This was one of the most dangerous and difficult stages in the growth of a genetic warrior. He had just gotten his bank card. If he died on the way, he would drop his bank card. He didn't want to lose all the 200,000 crystals. Even if they were to set off, they would have to wait until they came in again. Lu Yuan even thought that since the effect of the gravity room in the martial arts center was so good, he might as well use up all the spiritual crystals and set off after his strength improved to a certain level. This way, it would be safer. Anyway, even if they were in a hurry to set off now, the effects of cultivating in other places would not be as good as cultivating in the gravity room. Thinking of this, Lu Yuan made a decision. He would leave Sandstone City after he converted all the spirit crystals into power. For the rest of the time, Lu Yuan got up early in the morning and went directly to the martial arts center, where he opened the gravity room for 5 hours to cultivate. As Lu Yuan's tempering increased, the speed at which he consumed spiritual crystals also increased. After spending about 6,000 crystals, he went out to take a break and eat something. Then, he opened the gravity room and cultivated for another 5 hours. He spent more than 10,000 crystals in one day. 7 days later, Lu Yuan used up about 80,000 spiritual crystals and the white misty door was repaired. He then left the land of origin. On this day, Lu Yuan's red copper light gene had reached 70%. His cultivation speed was extremely exaggerated. This was also because the higher the tempering degree, the slower the improvement, and the greater the consumption. Otherwise, he would have reached an even higher level. In addition, Lu Yuan spent more time in the land of origin, reaching 10 days. After coming out, Lu Yuan rested for a day. He took Li Qinghe out for a meal and went shopping to buy a few sets of clothes for himself and Li Qinghe. He then bragged to his classmates in the future war god chat group. Zhuo Ming didn't hide it at all. As soon as he came out of the land of origin, he began to brag in the group that Lu Yuan had brought them to the private room of the auction. Zhuo Ming said, "Brother Yuan, you're really awesome. You've only been in the land of origin for a month and your income has already exceeded 200,000 crystals. That's even higher than 2 years of income for our adventure team leader." When we got back, our captain went into autism on the spot. He must be one of the big bosses of our Daki planet in the future. Otherwise, I'll do a handstand washing my hair. Wang Xiang. At Lu Yuan, big boss, please be my sugar daddy. I'll send you 10 black stocking photos. Winnie, whimpers. Sister Xiang, count me in. Let's take a picture together. Molly. Momo, raise your little hand. Take me and thank you. Guyu asked, Brother Yuan, can we not be too gender-restricted? I think I'm pretty good. Looking too, Chao Yen, Lu Yuan is awesome. I'm a little tempted by what you've said. Lu Yuan was speechless. He looked at Wang Xiang and the other two's words, his fingers moving as he typed a line. The 3 of you are taking a picture together. Private chat. Send it to me. However, before he could press the send button, Lu Yuan's eyes and hands were quick, and he instantly deleted this line of words. How could I, Lu Yuan, be such a person? I'm a man who has already broken away from vulgar interests. That line of words just now couldn't have been typed by me. There must be some evil god tempting me just now. He sent a new message with a serious face. It's just like that. The spirit crystals are used up very quickly. It won't take long for them to be gone. Zhuo Ming replied, Brother Yuan, I understand. He bought a full set of elite equipment and a leader's equipment, and it was gone immediately. I know what you mean. When Lu Yuan saw this, he couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth. He wanted to say that he already had 2 chieftain-level equipment, and the cost of the crystals was for his cultivation. After thinking for a while, Lu Yuan still didn't say anything and just continued to brag to them. The next day, Lu Yuan returned to the land of origin again. This time, Lu Yuan's time in the land of origin was extended again. He stayed for 11 days. With the improvement of his cultivation, Lu Yuan's consumption of spiritual crystals naturally became faster. He needed to consume about 15,000 spiritual crystals a day. This was equivalent to consuming 1.5 elite equipment every day. If it were any other genetic warrior, this would be something that they would be completely unable to imagine. If the consumption of cultivation was so great, then what was the point of cultivation? The money earned would not even be enough for cultivation. However, it was precisely because of this that Lu Yuan's progress was extremely huge. On the 11th day, Lu Yuan only had 2,000 crystals left from his 230000. His red copper light gene, which needed to be further tempered after evolving to the boss. Level, had now been tempered to 94%. Although it had not been tempered to perfection, Lu Yuan's defensive ability had almost doubled compared to before. His strength and speed had also increased slightly. Most importantly, he had been in the gravity room for more than half a month. Lu Yuan's black steel force had finally reached the 3rd level. When used at full force, it was enough to double the strength. Under such circumstances, Lu Yuan's strength was not much weaker than his defensive ability. Lu Yuan's only weakness was probably his speed. Even so, he had already surpassed the average elite warrior of the same rank. After all, having 2 leader-class genes and a leader-class geno weapon was no laughing matter. When Lu Yuan left the land of origin again, this was all he had improved. Although he had spent more than 200,000 spiritual crystals, he was still very satisfied with the results. After leaving the land of origin, Lu Yuan was already prepared to leave Sandstone City the next time he entered. For this reason, he had read up on some posts on the battle network. In the end, he chose the human city closest to Sandstone City, Heaven Luo City. On one hand, Heaven Luo City was the closest to Sandstone City. On the other hand, there were fewer high-level beast areas on the way to Heaven Luo City. For a newbie who was only at the rank 1, this could reduce the danger by a lot. Lu Yuan then memorized the map from Sandstone City to Heaven Luo City. He didn't want to get lost and run off somewhere. Lu Yuan also prepared a few bottles of rank 1 powerful potions and bought some special items. It cost Lu Yuan more than 9 million. Most of them were powerful potions. It was too expensive. A rank 1 powerful healing potion actually cost 1.2 million a bottle. The movement speed potion cost 2 million a bottle. Strength potions and defense potions also cost 1.5 million a bottle. At first, Lu Yuan thought he had seen wrong. The price was outrageous. Compared to the trainee level, it was 10 times more. In terms of crystals, it would cost about 8,000 to 10,000, which was about the price of a trainee-level elite weapon. Fortunately, he was quite rich, so he bought a bottle of each as a trump card. Just this alone had already cost Lu Yuan 6.2 million. Adding on some other things, he spent money like crazy. Lu Yuan felt that gene pharmacologists were too profitable. Unfortunately, he did not have the formula and did not know how to make it. Otherwise, he would have wanted to make genetic medicine and sell it. After he was ready, Lu Yuan entered the Heaven Luo again. Lu Yuan appeared outside the martial arts center. He took a look at the martial arts center. He had spent most of his time here in the land of origin for more than half a month, so he had already developed some feelings for this place. Unfortunately, he still had to leave. Lu Yuan turned around and left. After leaving the city, he looked at the sky full of yellow sand and tried to determine his direction. Sandstone City is in the west. Heaven Luo City is in the northeast. This way, right. Lu Yuan ran in the direction of Heaven Luo City. Through the map, Lu Yuan knew that Sandstone City, Storm City and the other 4 initial cities were located in the White Cloud continent. The most prosperous city here was naturally the White Cloud City in the Heaven Luo City. In addition, there were many other cities in the entire White Cloud state. Some were from the El Heaven Luo City, while others were built by various races. In addition to humans, elves, dog-headed people, and cat people, there were many other races that entered the Heaven Luo City and landed in the White Cloud continent. The entire White Cloud continent was extremely huge. Even after so many years since the various races had entered the land of origin, there were still large areas that had not been explored. There were some areas that even battle emperors would find difficult to enter. Entering would mean death. However, these danger zones were still too far away for Lu Yuan. He still had to run to Heaven Luo City. Chapter 93. Mist Forest, Meeting Yi Yi Again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 93. Mist Forest, Meeting Yi Yi Again. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Thousands of kilometers to the northeast of Sandstone City. Lu Yuan's body turned into an afterimage as he ran in the desert. Boom! Just as he passed by a sand dune, the sand dune suddenly exploded. A black tail that was several meters long stabbed toward Lu Yuan. The tip of its tail was a sharp needle. Lu Yuan's expression did not change. His right hand reached out like lightning, grabbed the thick and long tail, and exerted a little force. Boom! The yellow sand churned and a huge black scorpion was thrown out by Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan grabbed its tail and swung it hard, throwing it onto the sand dune. Bang! A deep pit was smashed into the sand dune. The 8-meter-long giant scorpion kept struggling with its 8 legs, letting out a sharp hiss. Lu Yuan's expression did not change. He let go of the scorpion's tail and his body disappeared on the spot, appearing on the head of the black scorpion. The beetle claw sword appeared in Lu Yuan's hand and he stabbed the sword into the head of the black scorpion. The black scorpion's body twitched and it struggled to roll. Lu Yuan stepped on it and the scorpion that was about to roll immediately smashed onto the sand dune again. The shell that was stepped on by Lu Yuan completely caved in and cracks appeared. The black scorpion lost its vitality. Lu Yuan then jumped down from its body. Looking at the giant scorpion that was almost as tall as him, Lu Yuan nodded in satisfaction. Black Poison Sand Scorpion. I didn't expect to meet a leader level already. I'm in luck. It had been almost a week since Lu Yuan left Sandstone City. He had encountered many beasts along the way. Especially the further away from Sandstone City, the stronger the beasts. The black poison sand scorpion in front of him alone was already a leader with a refining degree of more than 90%. Unfortunately, he had no ability to resist Lu Yuan. 2 balls of light fell from the sand scorpion's body, along with a large pile of origin crystals. Lu Yuan picked up the item. The 2 balls of light were green and azure respectively. The green one was an elite-grade transcendent gene. Combat skill. Black Scorpion Poison. The green one was a leader Geno weapon. It was a long, thin sword that looked like the tail of a scorpion. Leader's equipment. Scorpion Tail Needle. It mainly strengthened agility, vitality, and strength. It also had the effect of scorpion poison. Lu Yuan clicked his tongue, feeling a little pity. It would be great if it was a heavy sword. He was used to using a heavy sword. This kind of slender and light long sword was more suitable for assassins. The heavy sword was more inclined to the power attack system, the unreasonable kind that used force to suppress people. The beetle claw sword in his hand had been used for a long time, and he had not changed it. If he had a leader-level heavy sword, he should change it. Unfortunately, he didn't. Lu Yuan put away the things and went to collect the materials. This was the 3rd chieftain that Lu Yuan had encountered. Of the other 2 leaders, one was a wind eagle with a 99% refinement. Lu Yuan couldn't catch up with those that could fly, so he could only watch them run away. The other one was a desert wolf with a 90% or more refinement rate. It did drop a decent leader-grade armor. The black armor with yellow patterns on Lu Yuan's body was one such armor. After packing up, Lu Yuan continued to move forward. Not long after, Lu Yuan climbed over a tall sand dune. His eyes widened slightly when he saw the scenery in front of him. In front of them, the desert gradually disappeared and turned into dark brown soil. In the distance was a boundless forest. It was like a green ocean. He was out of the desert. Lu Yuan's eyes flashed and he squinted slightly. He recalled the map he had seen before. After leaving the desert, it was the misty forest. The misty forest's area was many times larger than the entire sandstone city. Even the weakest vicious beast was at level 1. Because there would be heavy fog from time to time, it was called the misty forest. Even the lowest level monster is a rank 1 monster. It's much more dangerous than the area around Sandstone City. Lu Yuan's heart grew heavy. He held the heavy sword tightly and continued to move forward. Soon, he walked past the desert and stepped on the thick soil. In front of him was a forest. The forest was densely covered with trees, all of which were tens or even hundreds of meters tall. The gaps between the trees looked dark and scary. Lu Yuan took a deep breath and entered the forest. The sun was blocked by the canopy, and only a few spots of light fell on the ground covered with dead branches and rotten leaves. The environment was very dark. However, Lu Yuan was a rank 1 genetic warrior after all. His vision was quite good, and he had no problem with night vision. He could clearly see his surroundings. Tall and thick tree trunks, shrubs growing everywhere, and many drooping vines. From time to time, the roars of ferocious beasts could be heard in the distance. Lu Yuan composed himself and stepped forward. After walking for a short distance, Lu Yuan suddenly looked up at the trees in front of him. On a tree not far away, a black leopard that was 4 or 5 meters long was looking down at Lu Yuan. It opened its mouth and drooled. Roar! The black leopard roared and turned into a shadow, pouncing at Lu Yuan at an extremely fast speed. Lu Yuan's expression did not change. He took a casual step and dodged the black leopard's pounce. A black sword light slashed across the black panther's neck. Fresh blood spurted out as the black panther fell to the ground, losing its life. Lu Yuan glanced at the corpse on the ground. Rank 1 beast, mist panther. Looking at its size, it should be a normal rank beast, right? The degree of honing is not high either. Lu Yuan kept the panther's skin and fangs and continued forward. Along the way, they encountered quite a few beast attacks. However, at the edge of the misty forest, they were basically all ordinary rank 1 beasts. For ordinary level 1 beasts, even if their refinement degree had reached 100%, it would only be a little trouble for Lu Yuan. Not to mention that there weren't any beasts with such a high degree of refinement. Lu Yuan easily went 30 to 40 kilometers in. Just as Lu Yuan was walking, a loud roar was suddenly heard in the distance. Lu Yuan's expression changed slightly. He felt an extremely powerful aura rapidly approaching Lu Yuan. This powerful aura, even he felt extremely dangerous. There was actually such a powerful beast in the outskirts of the misty forest. Lu Yuan jumped onto a big tree at the side and shrank into the crown of the tree. As soon as he jumped up, the ground shook. Then, he saw a huge ferocious beast that was about 3 meters tall, covered in gray scale armor, and had 2 curved horns. This huge beast's thick scale armor was covered in scars, and it looked as if it was being chased. Lu Yuan's pupils shrank. Mist Earth Dragon. This kind of beast was an extremely top-tier race in the misty forest. The Mist Earth Dragon was born at the leader level, and the powerful ones could even reach stage 2 or higher. This should be an immature Mist Earth Dragon, right? Only rank 1. Lu Yuan's eyes flickered and he was a little tempted. There was a type of mist pearl in the Mist Earth Dragon's body, and it was very expensive. If he could obtain the transcendent gene of the Mist Earth Dragon, then needless to say, he would definitely be very strong among those of the same level. However, even this heavily injured Mist Earth Dragon's aura was still extremely powerful. Lu Yuan felt that it would be difficult for him to kill him. Moreover, he didn't know who was chasing after the Mist Earth Dragon. To be able to force the Mist Earth Dragon to this extent, it must be stronger than him. Lu Yuan thought about it and decided to continue observing the situation. At that moment, a black light flashed, and a humanoid cat in black leather armor suddenly appeared on the Myst Earth Dragon's body. The pitch-black sword light flashed continuously, covering the back of the Myst Earth Dragon and carving out a series of hideous sword marks. The already heavily injured Myst Earth Dragon fell heavily to the ground, letting out a low wail. Lu Yuan's pupils constricted. He looked at the humanoid cat standing on the back of the Myst Earth Dragon in shock. Yi Yi. Lu Yuan recognized her black ears and tail, her long black hair that was like a black waterfall, and her beautiful face at once. It was that high-quality little rich lady Yi Yi. He didn't expect that she would actually come to the misty forest. Furthermore, she was actually this strong. Lu Yuan was extremely shocked. The last time he saw Yi Yi, Lu Yuan felt that he was invincible. He didn't expect that he still couldn't beat her. What kind of gene was inscribed on this cat-woman? He had 2 leader-level equipment now. Although he had not completely refined them, he was still no match for her. This was ridiculous. How did she manage to inscribe such a high-level gene? Lu Yuan was full of doubts. Just as Lu Yuan was in shock, Yi Yi, who was on the back of the Myst Earth Dragon, suddenly stopped and looked at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan's heart trembled. He had been discovered. What a sharp perception. The next moment, Lu Yuan saw Yi Yi disappear from where he was. The hair on his back stood on end as he felt a fatal threat. Wait! He hurriedly shouted and circulated the red copper light with all his might. In front of him, Yi Ye's body appeared. The sharp black longsword was less than a centimeter away from his neck and stopped there. Chapter 94. Battle Sage Ancestor, Genetic Inheritance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 94. Battle Sage Ancestor, Genetic Inheritance. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Lu Yuan glanced at the black long sword that stopped in front of him. The corner of his mouth twitched, and his scalp went numb. He had almost died. Lu Yuan's eyes flashed with a hint of fear. It was only when he faced Yi Yi that he realized how strong she was. Yi Yi stood in front of Lu Yuan and looked at him expressionlessly. She tilted her head, as if she was thinking about something. Then, her eyes lit up and she looked at Lu Yuan. You were the one who grilled fish. Lu Yuan was speechless. The corner of his mouth twitched. Good Lord, this catgirl actually remembered that he was a grilled fish. He was clearly so handsome. Lu Yuan laughed dryly and said, Master Yi Ye's memory is really good. I didn't expect you to still remember me. Yi Yi sized Lu Yuan up, her dark eyes unmoved. Then, she put away his long sword. Yes, I am. The fish you roast is very delicious. Lu Yuan was silent for a moment before he corrected, that's a crocodile. Crocodiles are also fish. Crocodiles are not fish. It's an amphibian. Lu Yuan spoke again. This was obviously a question of common sense. Lu Yuan felt that he had to correct Comrade Yi Yi. Yi Yi glared at Lu Yuan and clenched the long sword in her hands tighter and said, Crocodiles are fish. Lu Yuan was speechless. He glanced at Yi Ye's hand, which was holding the sword tightly, and said seriously, Lord Yi Yi is so powerful. You could tell at a glance that the crocodile was a fish. I was wrong. Yi Yi nodded in satisfaction, then disappeared. When she reappeared, she was already on the back of the Myst Earth Dragon. Lu Yuan took a look and saw a green light ball and 2 green light balls floating on the Myst Earth Dragon's body. There was also a large pile of spirit crystals at the side. Yi Yi was picking up the things, and a trace of envy flashed in Lu Yuan's eyes. The Myst Earth Dragon dropped some good stuff. He thought for a moment, then also fell from the branch. Where are you going, Master Yi Yi? He asked curiously. Since Yi Yi came to the misty forest, it was obvious that he planned to pass through here and go to other cities. However, there seemed to be several cities of cat people, so Lu Yuan asked. After Yi Yi picked up the items and dropped them on the ground, she sliced open the Mist Earth Dragon's scales with her long sword and started to collect the materials. I want to go to Abyssal City. Lu Yuan's eyes lit up and he smiled. I'm going to Heaven Luo City. It's on the way. Do you want to go together? Yi Yi was very powerful. Lu Yuan felt that he would be safer if he followed her. If there was someone to hug, of course he had to hug someone's thigh. Lu Yuan had never been particularly good at talking and preferred to eat soft things. Yi Yi paused and looked at Lu Yuan with some hesitation. I can roast meat for Master Yi Yi, Lu Yuan said with a smile. Then, he saw Yi Ye's eyes light up and she nodded. All right, he said. Lu Yuan revealed a smile. At this time, Yi Yi had already collected all the materials. Not only that, but she had also collected a lot of Mist Earth Dragon's flesh and blood, clearly planning to roast it. Let's go, she said. Yi Yi turned around and went deep into the misty forest. Lu Yuan also followed. Not long after, an elite misty venomous python rushed down from a tree in the forest and pounced at Lu Yuan. This elite-grade dense fog venomous python was not too weak, but it did not pose much of a threat to Lu Yuan. He narrowed his eyes and was about to make a move when a sword light streaked across the python's body. Immediately, the python was cut in half and fell to the ground, losing its life. Lu Yuan's pupils constricted as he looked at Yi Yi. It was as if the sword in Yi Ye's hand had never moved. Lord Yi Yi is really strong, Lu Yuan said with a smile. Yi Yi did not notice Lu Yuan's words. She looked at the venomous python's corpse and muttered softly, snake meat seems quite delicious. Collect more, Lu Yuan was speechless. As long as you're happy. Then, Lu Yuan saw Yi Yi take out large pieces of snow-white snake meat and put them into the space. On the contrary, she didn't want the most precious snake skin, poisonous fangs, and internal organs like the poison sac. I only want snake meat. Lu Yuan was a little confused. Lord Yi Yi, don't you want the leather armor, venomous fangs, and venom sac? These aren't delicious. Yi Yi shook her head. Lu Yuan was a little dumbfounded. But these can be sold for crystals. Yi Ye's face was still calm. My space has to be used to store delicious food. It can't fit. Lu Yuan was speechless. I'm sorry. I was too narrow-minded. Yi Yi looked at Lu Yuan. If you want, I'll give you these. Lu Yuan immediately smiled. Okay, thank you, Master Yi Yi. Following that, the two of them continued to venture deeper into the misty forest. Lu Yuan basically had no chance to make a move. All the ferocious beasts that wanted to ambush them were all killed by Yi Yi with a single sword strike. After that, it was time to collect ingredients every night. He didn't want the meat of ordinary fierce beasts every night. He only wanted the meat of elite fierce beasts and above. As for the ingredients, as long as they were not edible, she would not take them. Up until now, the only material that Yi Yi had collected was the Misty Earth Dragon. Naturally, all of these were taken advantage of by Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan was pleasantly surprised to find that the speed of collecting these materials was much faster than when he hunted fierce beasts alone. The journey was safe, and they also gained a lot. Awesome, Comrade Yi Yi. When night fell, the sun set in the west, and the originally dim forest gradually fell into darkness. I'm not leaving today, Yi Yi said. I want to eat. She looked at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan patted his chest. Don't worry, Master Yi Yi. I'll roast it for you. Yi Yi nodded in satisfaction. The two of them found an open space with a radius of about 20 meters. After that, Yi Yi took out a gray-white diamond-shaped stone pillar. She placed the stone pillar in the center and then placed a spiritual crystal in the top of the stone pillar. Buzz! A strange sound was heard. The gray-white light spread out from the stone pillar, forming a gray-white light shield that covered the entire open space. Then, the light barrier fluctuated and disappeared. Lu Yuan looked at the disappearing light shield and asked curiously, "Master Yi Yi, what is this?" The concealment stone can simply conceal one's aura. Yi Yi looked expressionless and a little cold, but she actually had a good temper. She basically answered all the questions Lu Yuan asked along the way. Lu Yuan glanced at the concealment stone and felt a little envious. He had never seen such a thing in Sandstone City. It was probably taken out from his house every night. After that, Lu Yuan saw Yi Yi take out a small model of a room. She placed the model of the room on the ground. Under Lu Yuan's dumbfounded gaze, the model continued to grow until it finally became a two-story building with a radius of about 10 meters. Lu Yuan. He could even conjure up a room. Are you having a dream every night? The pitch-black metal building looked like a small fortress. Lu Yuan sized up the small building and asked curiously, "Lord Yi Yi, what is this?" "Traveler's hut." Yi Yi opened the door of the small house as she spoke. Before she entered the door, she thought for a moment, took out a piece of meat that gave off a strange fragrance, and handed it to Lu Yuan. "We'll eat this meat tonight." Lu Yuan received the flesh. It was the meat of the mist earth dragon. He had seen it before. "Yes, Master Yi Yi." "Yes." Yi Yi nodded, entered the traveler's small house, and then closed the door. Lu Yuan was speechless. Watching Yi Yi close the door, Lu Yuan admitted that he was jealous. Hunting in the wild was really just for survival. But every night, it felt like they were camping. How could there be such a huge difference between people? Lu Yuan could not figure out what the problem was. However, since he was here to roast meat, Lu Yuan did not forget his job. He took out his tools and condiments, started a fire, and began to roast the meat. When the roasted meat turned golden and the strange fragrance became more intense, Yi Yi walked out. Lu Yuan took a look and found that Yi Ye's hair was a little wet. Her originally snow-white skin was a little ruddy, and there was a little water vapor around her. Lu Yuan's mouth twitched. It turned out that he had gone to take a shower. He could even take a hot bath in the wild. What could he say? After that, she squatted down beside Lu Yuan every night and stared at the roasted meat. Lu Yuan coughed. "Lord Yi Yi, it's done." Lu Yuan took out a plate, cut the roasted meat, and handed it to Yi Yi. Yi Yi took a bite, and her eyes lit up as she continued eating. Lu Yuan saw that Yi Yi was quite satisfied and seemed to be in a good mood. He pondered for a while and planned to chat with her. "Master Yi Yi is really strong. The gene you carved should be above leader level, right?" "Yes," Yi Yi nodded. Lu Yuan's pupils shrank. It was actually a transcendent gene that was above leader grade. Can the first gene also be above leader grade? Won't you explode and die after inscribing? Yi Yi looked at Lu Yuan, and a hint of pride appeared on her originally expressionless face. Although her voice was still cold, she raised her voice. "My ancestor was a battle sage, and I inherited his transcendent genes." Chapter 95. Heaven Abyss Empire, Ayer's Mechanical Ruins Translator. Dragon Boat TR. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 95. Heaven Abyss Empire, Ayer's Mechanical Ruins Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Hearing this, Lu Yuan's pupils constricted, and the doubts in his heart were instantly resolved. Transcendent gene, transcendent gene. Since the gene was engraved, did that mean that this gene could be passed down? In other words, it was possible for the descendants to inherit the genes of the previous generation. Yi Ye's ancestor was a powerful battle sage, so his transcendent genes naturally wouldn't be weak. How could Yi Yi be weak after inheriting such transcendent genes? However, Lu Yuan still had some doubts. But I've seen other genetic warriors, and it seems that no one has inherited the genes of their ancestors like Master Yi Yi. Yi Yi explained, the more powerful a warrior is, the higher the chance of passing on the transcendent gene to their descendants. The probability of ordinary soldiers below the battle god level passing on the transcendent gene is almost zero. Moreover, it's not something that can be passed on to every descendant. Hearing this, Lu Yuan came to a realization. So it was like this. According to this logic, perhaps only people like Yi Yi could be considered a so-called genius. Think about it, if the ancestor was a battle emperor, battle sage, or even a battle god, then if the descendant inherited the genes of the ancestor, the first gene might be a lord level or even a king level. How strong would this be? Lu Yuan had thought that he was already very strong now. Thinking about it this way, there were probably quite a few of his peers who were stronger than him. He was originally a little proud, but now he was suddenly clear-headed. He had to continue working hard. After eating the last piece of roasted meat, Yi Yi put down the plate, fork, and knife, and stood up. I'm going to rest. Lu Yuan watched as Yi Yi opened the door of the traveler's small house. He coughed and said with some anticipation, "Ahem, Master Yi Yi, where do I sleep tonight?" Hearing this, Yi Yi glanced at Lu Yuan. Outside. Oh. Watching Yi Yi close the door, the corner of Lu Yuan's mouth twitched. After packing up his things, he silently took out his tent and set it up beside the traveler's hut. Looking at his own small tent and then at the traveler's hut at the side, Lu Yuan felt very uncomfortable. When I have money, I want to buy a house like this. Good luck, Lu Yuan, you can do it. In the next few days, Lu Yuan and Yi Yi continued to go deep into the misty forest. As he continued to venture deeper into the misty forest, the ferocious beasts he encountered gradually became stronger. From the beasts they encountered in the beginning, they were easily killed every night. Later on, they gradually encountered rank 2 beasts. The strength of the ordinary rank 2 ferocious beasts was not considered strong, and they could still be killed. However, when they encountered a tier 2 elite ferocious beast, even Yi Yi had no choice but to temporarily avoid its path. Fortunately, Yi Ye's perception ability was extremely powerful, and she could sense the location of powerful fierce beasts in advance. For the beasts, humans and cat people were no different from other beasts, so they wouldn't chase them. As long as they went around their territory and didn't cause any conflict, it would be fine. The deeper he went into the misty forest, the more times Lu Yuan and Yi Yi took detours. Lu Yuan felt lucky. Luckily, he was hugging onto Yi Ye's leg and running with her. Otherwise, with the level of danger here, he felt that he would have to die a few times before he could get to this position. And this was after Yi Yi had brought him on a long detour, running from the outskirts of the misty forest. There are peak tier 3 beast overlords in the inner area of the dense misty forest. It's too dangerous to go through the inner area. Although it's more troublesome to go through the outer area, it's very safe. Lu Yuan felt that Yi Ye's definition of safety was a little ridiculous. Even if they were to go to the outer circle, ordinary genetic warriors would have to die. One must know that although Lu Yuan's strength was not as strong as Yi Yi's, he was still much stronger than ordinary genetic warriors. Even he felt that it was too dangerous. One could imagine how dangerous it would be for ordinary genetic warriors. Unless they ran from the outer circle, the distance would be too far, and it would take a long time to reach the destination. Of course, there were also benefits. Along the way, Lu Yuan followed Yi Yi and picked up many materials from beasts. His war-ruined space was already more than 10 meters wide. Even so, more than half of it had been filled with materials. One could only imagine how much he had gained over the past few days. The two of them moved through the forest. At this moment, Yi suddenly stopped. What's going on? Lu Yuan looked around warily. Is there another powerful beast? No, Yi shook her head. My time is almost up. I have to leave the origin source ground soon. Lu Yuan was stunned. If she wasn't there every night, he would be in danger. He glanced at his light door. There was still about a day's time. He immediately said in all seriousness, then I'll stop here too. Wait for me when Master Yi comes up, and we'll continue to walk together. I still want to continue roasting meat for Master Yi. F***ck, if Yi wasn't here, his future would be difficult. Yi thought about it and nodded. After saying that, Yi's body turned into white light and disappeared. Lu Yuan heaved a sigh of relief. Since Yi had agreed, she should be waiting for him, right? He would hide for now and wait until he got out. Lu Yuan looked around and found a hidden treetop to hide. Fortunately, everything was calm and there were no accidents. When the door of light was restored, Lu Yuan left the land of origin. Heaven Abyss Planet. The Palace of the Heaven Abyss Empire. In a huge and gorgeous bedroom, light flickered, and Yi's body appeared. The two beautiful feline maids who were already waiting by the side bowed. Your Highness, you've come out. Yes. His Majesty invites you to go over. Chapter 96. Heaven Abyss Empire, Ire Mechanical Ruins 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 96. Heaven Abyss Empire, Ire Mechanical Ruins 2. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Yi was not surprised and nodded. All right, she said. The two cat-person maids opened the door and bowed to welcome Yi out. Then, they followed her and closed the door. The corridor outside the door was very wide, about 10 meters long. There were feline guards in black armor standing guard on both sides at intervals. The auras of these feline guards were powerful. They were all genetic warriors. When they saw Yi, the cat people guards bowed. Your Highness. There was a hint of respect in their eyes. From the moment she was born, Her Highness Yi was destined to be an unparalleled genius who stood at the top of the empire. Yi nodded slightly. After walking through the complicated corridor, they came to the door of a huge room. Father, it's Yi, she knocked on the door. The door opened, and a gray-haired old feline man in a feline palace uniform opened the door. His deep dark gray eyes looked at Yi with a trace of gentleness in his eyes as he bowed slightly. Your Highness, you've come. Chief Gray. Yi nodded lightly. His Majesty is already waiting for you. Yi walked into the room. There were several rows of bookshelves on both sides of the room, and a huge floor-to-ceiling window was directly facing the door. In front of the window was a black wooden desk with all kinds of documents on it. At this moment, a black-haired cat man was standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window with his hands behind his back and looking out. When Yi walked to the desk, the black-haired cat person turned around and revealed a handsome face that was somewhat similar to Yi's. He looked at Yi and a gentle smile appeared on his face. Yi, I've heard that you've left Sandstone City. Yes, I'm on my way to Abyss City, Yi nodded. Was the journey safe? It's safe, ahaha. With my daughter's strength, the misty forest is indeed not dangerous. The cat man's face was filled with smiles. If anyone else saw this, they would be shocked. As one of the few powerful emperors in the history of the Heaven Abyss Empire, Emperor Yi Mu's dignity and dominance were deeply rooted in the hearts of the people, but his warm side was almost unknown. Only the chief steward Gray, who was standing at the side, seemed to be used to it. The speed of your breakthrough is a little faster than I expected. What kind of reward do you want? I want a chef who is proficient in human cooking, Yi said after some thought. Emperor Yi Mu and Chief Gray were both stunned. Emperor Yi Mu knew Yi Ye's hobby, but he still couldn't help but smile. Why do you suddenly want to eat human food? I met a human. He made me some roast meat. It tasted a little different from the ones we have here. It's numb, and there's an indescribable smell. Oh. Human. Did he roast meat for you? Emperor Yi Mu's eyes narrowed, and a fierce light flashed through them. What kind of human is he? Does he know your identity? Yi thought about it and said, he's an interesting human who doesn't know my identity. Interesting. Yes. The first time I met him, he was very weak, but he killed a beast leader by himself. He even treated me to some grilled fish. It was very fragrant. Emperor Yi Mu relaxed a little upon hearing this. Emperor Yi Mu naturally didn't care about something as trivial as killing a leader-level beast. It was fine as long as no one intentionally got close to Yi. In that case, I'll find you a chef who's good at human cooking, he said with a smile. Thank you, father. Yi Ye's eyes lit up. Emperor Yi Mu smiled. In a while, the remains of Ire will open. This time, you will be leading the team. Train well. Yes, Yi nodded. Planet Daki, Red Maple Empire, Shili City. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon when Lu Yuan left the land of origin and returned to his room. Lu Yuan stretched his back and left the room. In the hall, Jeff was cleaning the place. When he saw Lu Yuan, his gentlemanly voice rang out, Master, you're out. Do you need me to prepare something for you to eat? Lu Yuan thought for a moment and nodded. I'm going out for a bit. He looked around the living room again and realized that Li Qinghe was not there. He glanced at Li Qinghe's tightly shut door. Is Sister Qinghe still sleeping in? He didn't mind and left the room. His new home was very close to the Mad Wolf material store. In about 10 minutes, Lu Yuan arrived at the Mad Wolf material store. As soon as he entered the door, Lu Yuan saw Shui Wang sitting on the chair and playing games. Lu Yuan smiled and greeted, Old Shui, come greet your guests. Shui Wang was stunned. He raised his head to look at Lu Yuan and smiled. Oh. Old Lu. Why didn't he come these past few days? I'm busy with cultivation, Lu Yuan smiled. I didn't go hunting fierce beasts. Even a monster like you would be busy cultivating. Lu Yuan smiled and did not explain. This time's harvest is not bad, you should count it. Lu Yuan waved his hand, and a large pile of materials appeared in the open space of the hall. Shui Wang walked over with an unconcerned expression. When did you not get a good harvest? He walked over and picked up a piece of black fur to take a look. Then, the unconcerned expression on his face froze. He was stunned and looked at the black fur in his hand carefully. Then, he looked at Lu Yuan as if he was looking at a monster. A rank 1 mist leopard fur. Lu Yuan, you've broken through to rank 1. Lu Yuan smiled modestly. Didn't you say that you were busy cultivating? I obtained a lot of spiritual crystals a while ago and spent some time in the gravity room before I managed to break through. Shui Wang was speechless. He looked at Lu Yuan in a daze, then at the pile of materials on the ground. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, nothing came out. He lowered his head and continued to count. Foggy venomous python skin, rank 1 normal quality. It's well preserved, so I'll give you 4,500 for such a big piece. A pair of venomous fangs, 3,000. This is... Holy shit. The fur of a rank 1 elite mist wolf. Old Lu, you're actually able to kill a rank 1 elite fierce beast. Shui Wang looked at the fur in his hands. He was numb and started to curse. I was just lucky, Lu Yuan smiled. Shui Wang opened his mouth and was speechless. You're a monster. Shui Wang continued to check. When he saw a horn that was close to a meter long, Shui Wang was stunned. He then looked at Lu Yuan in shock, the horn of a rank 2 mist tiger. Don't tell me you're already at the rank 2. Lu Yuan glanced at the horn and smiled. Why are you so nervous? I didn't kill it, Shui Wang was stunned. Then who killed it? Haven't you always been a loner? Lu Yuan smiled. This time, I was going through the misty forest to another city. I'm quite lucky to have met a big shot who's willing to take me along. He just came out of Sandstone City and he's already able to kill a rank 2 beast. There's a madman stronger than you. Shui Wang had a look of disbelief on his face. In his opinion, Lu Yuan was already a monster. He could kill a rank 1 elite fierce beast just after breaking through. If this was not a monster, then what was? In the end, Lu Yuan said that there was actually someone stronger than him. Seeing Shui Wang's disbelieving look, Lu Yuan sighed and smiled. There's always someone better, and that person is indeed much stronger than me. Lu Yuan added silently in his heart, only for now. In the future, when Lu Yuan continued to evolve his transcendent genes, he would definitely be stronger than Yi Yi. Even if Yi Ye's transcendent genes were inherited from her ancestor and were extremely powerful, she still couldn't evolve. As long as Lu Yuan continued to evolve his transcendent genes, it would only be a matter of time before he surpassed Yi Yi. If even you think that he's stronger, could he be a direct descendant of some big family? Who knows? Lu Yuan smiled. Shui Wang did not ask further. He shook his head and continued to count. With Lu Yuan's previous words, he was much calmer when he saw the stage 2 materials. After he had counted all the materials, he looked at Lu Yuan with a strange expression. I've finished counting. It's a total of 51.39 million. So many. Lu Yuan's eyes lit up. This many. This was almost 10 times what Lu Yuan had gained in the past. Even if it was converted to crystals, it would still be more than 200,000 grade 0 spirit crystals. It was almost comparable to the materials Lu Yuan had auctioned before. Although he was mentally prepared, he still did not expect to have such a great harvest. Yi Yi had already collected the level 1 and level 2 spirit crystals that the beasts had dropped. Otherwise, he would have gained even more. I'll transfer the money to you now. Alright. Chapter 97. Farewell, good luck. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 97. Farewell, good luck. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. When he got home, Lu Yuan started to browse the battle network and the mall as usual. The next day, they entered the land of origin again. As soon as he entered the land of origin, Lu Yuan saw the traveler's hut at the side. Yi Yi was already online. Lu Yuan saw that Yi Yi was already waiting for him. He walked over and knocked on the door. Very quickly, Yi Yi walked out. You're here. Yes. Then let's go. The two of them continued on their journey. 3 months later. In the misty forest, Yi Yi and Lu Yuan shuttled through the forest at an extremely fast speed, almost turning into afterimages. At this moment, Yi Yi suddenly stopped. Lu Yuan immediately became alert and looked around. Every time they stopped every night, it was basically because they had encountered a powerful fierce beast. At this moment, Yi Yi said, I want to leave the misty forest from here. Lu Yuan was stunned. Then, he thought of something and looked at Yi Yi. Is Abyss City in this direction? Yes. Lu Yuan's feelings were complicated. More than 3 months had passed in the land of origin, and more than a week had passed in real time. They took a huge detour around the misty forest. They had encountered too many dangers. If it wasn't for Yi Yi, it would have been several times more difficult for Lu Yuan to get here. In his heart, Lu Yuan was very grateful to Yi Yi. In addition, after getting along with her during this period of time, Lu Yuan also knew that although Yi Yi looked cold, she was actually a very gentle girl. He had a good impression of her. He didn't expect to be separated so soon. Then, he thought of something and said awkwardly, "I'll go out with you, Master Yi Yi." After all, this place was located in the depths of the misty forest, and there were quite a number of rank 2 beasts running amok. Without Yi Yi, he would not have dared to take this path alone. He could only continue to walk towards the outermost area of the misty forest and pass through the rank 1 vicious beast area. Although the distance would be a little further, it was safe. Yi Yi nodded. The two of them ran toward the outer perimeter. After another 100 kilometers, the surrounding beasts were basically all rank 1. Lu Yuan stopped. He looked at Yi Yi and said seriously, "Let's stop here." "Thank you, Lord Yi Yi, for bringing me here. Since we are all in the White Cloud continent, we will have the opportunity to meet again in the future. If you need any help in the future, just let me know." Yi Yi glanced at Lu Yuan and said seriously, "Your roast meat has been getting better and better recently." The corner of Lu Yuan's mouth twitched. "The next time we meet," he said, "I'll roast meat for Master Yi Yi again." Only then did Yi Yi nod in satisfaction. With that, Yi Yi nodded to Lu Yuan, and her body turned into a shadow and disappeared. When Yi Yi left, the surrounding environment became quiet, and only the roars of beasts could be heard in the distance. Lu Yuan rubbed his forehead. They had always been walking together. Although they rarely talked at night, he was still not used to it now that they were walking together. "Let's go. Fortunately, we'll be there soon." The distance between Heaven Luo City and Abyss City was not too far. With Lu Yuan's speed, he would arrive in about 10 days at most. Lu Yuan continued to move northeast. Late at night. In an ordinary room in the slums of Shili City. Li Qinghe sat on the sofa, and Benjamin stood in front of her. He reported respectfully, "My lord, after a week of investigation, we found most of the suspects. In the turmoil a week ago, most people had alibis. We don't know where the 6 of them were at the time, but after our investigation, only Xueren of the Feral Dog Gang, Ellis, and Lucius, the Wild Hunter, were missing for a few days. The other 3 people didn't have any injuries left by the adults. Our guess is that the foreign object is on one of the 3 of them." Li Qinghe nodded slightly. "Judging from the damage I caused him at the time, he can't move for a short time, but we can't rule out the possibility that the mutated object has healing abilities. Therefore, it was possible that he had already recovered. The host who is about to be assimilated is no longer a normal person. He will definitely not be able to resist the desire brought by the mutation and will attack others again." Li Qinghe was silent for a moment. She took a puff of her cigarette, thought for a moment, and continued, "My appearance the last time should have made him more vigilant. The next time he attacks, he probably won't make such a big move so brazenly and will be more vigilant. With the strength he had displayed at that time, the souls of ordinary people could no longer satisfy his needs. It was very likely that he would attack experts like genetic warriors. Send some people to find Xueren, Ellis, and Lucius. Also, keep an eye on the genetic warriors in the slums. They might become the target of the mutant host." "Yes." At this moment, Lin Hong rushed in, his expression unsightly. "My lord. The host is on the move again. We just received a report from the local night watchman that the deputy leader of the Scorpion Gang, Carrie, has died in his own house." "What?" Li Qinghe narrowed her eyes. "Have you recovered?" She sneered, even at this point, he still can't resist the temptation. It was completely different from his previous cautious and low-profile attitude. In the end, he is just a mutated host driven by greed. Keep an eye on the other genetic warriors. Once there's an attack, there will be a second one. Yes. In another room in the slums. The black shadow turned, and Xueren walked out of it. Compared to before he was injured, Xueren's face was even colder, and his eyes had a hint of evil. Chapter 98. Farewell, good luck to you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 98. Farewell, good luck to translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. He sat cross-legged on the bed, a black bead spinning in front of him, and a strange scream came out. Wisps of black mist seeped out of the black pearl and fused into his body. His aura kept growing stronger. A moment later, Shuiren opened his eyes, and black mist seeped out of them. A sinister look appeared on his face. Damn it! Those night watchmen. The previous actions caused too much of an impact. If this continues, it won't be long before they'll be sure it's me. I'm not strong enough, I need to be even stronger. But now, even killing a genetic warrior would be discovered. What should we do? Shuiren's expression became more and more ferocious. As his aura fluctuated, the black mist around him gradually became thicker than before. Think of a way to inform the genetic warriors of the other guilds to gather in the name of discussing the development of their guilds. Then, we'll eat them. No, this won't do. With the current situation, the genetic warriors of the other guilds will definitely be monitored. If I invite them rashly, it will only make them target me. We can't do this. We have to change our method. Then, a glint of light flashed in his eyes. He took out his phone and a cold expression appeared on his face. He dialed a number. Do. The call connected, and a cold voice with a hint of mockery came from the other side. Ha! It's rare that you would call me. Shuiren's majestic voice rang out, come back, I have something to tell you. Hee. I told you, I won't go back. When I return, it will be time for me to take revenge. The black mist on Shuiren's face fluctuated, and then a look of struggle appeared on his face. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but the black mist on his face thickened again, and his face became cold again. He opened his mouth and said, I want to talk about your mother. The other side fell silent. A moment later, a cold voice sounded from the other side, I'll be back in 3 days. Yes. Shuiren hung up the phone in silence. His eyes were dim, and the corners of his mouth curled up, revealing a hint of evil danger. Shui Wang is a rank 2 combat master. Eating him is equivalent to eating 100 genetic warriors at the trainee level. At that time, my strength will definitely increase greatly. Mad Wolf Material Store, in a room behind the shop. The table lamp flickered with a dim light. Shui Wang was leaning against the head of the bed, his black sunglasses placed at the side. His pupils were a strange dark green, as if a ball of ghostly fire was burning in his eye sockets. He hung up the phone and was silent for a moment. Then, a photo appeared in his hand. The photo was only 2/3 of the original. It was a black-haired woman with a gentle smile, holding a thin child. The child had short, slightly curly black hair and a bright smile. The photo on the other side of the child had disappeared. From the gap, it looked as if someone had violently torn it apart. Shui Wang looked at the photo, his fingers gently caressing the black-haired woman's face. His eyes were slightly moist, and his gaze was distant, as if he was recalling something. A moment later, he came back to his senses and put the photo away. He exhaled slightly, and a sharp look flashed in his dark green eyes. The next day. Mad Wolf Material Store. When Lu Yuan entered the door, he saw Shui Wang packing up the various materials on the counter. Lu Yuan was stunned and looked at the empty shop around him. Old Shui, why are you packing your things? Shui Wang looked up and saw Lu Yuan. He pushed his black sunglasses up and smiled. Old Lu, you're here. I'm planning to go out these 2 days, so I'll pack up first. Going out? Where do you want to go? Shui Wang looked at Lu Yuan and smiled. Lu Yuan rolled his eyes. Shui Wang changed the topic. You're here to sell materials. You came at the right time, I might not be here tomorrow. Lu Yuan smiled. If you're not here, I have to find a new business partner. Don't. You see, other than trying to trick you at the beginning, I didn't trick you later on, right? We've been working so well together, how can you bear to abandon me? Shui Wang quickly shouted. Lu Yuan's mouth twitched. You also know that you wanted to set me up. Ha, that didn't work, did it? Don't mind the details. Come, take out the goods, Shui Wang grinned. Lu Yuan took out all the items and Shui Wang started to count them. After he had counted more than half of the items, Shui Wang was a little confused. Old Lu, it's not good this time. Why are they all rank 1? There were also fewer elite.grade materials. It wasn't like this before. Lu Yuan rolled his eyes. I've reached my destination. I'm alone. It's good enough that I got these. Shui Wang looked at Lu Yuan in surprise. Didn't that big shot go to the same city as you? As he spoke, he thought of something and his expression turned strange. It can't be that he's not human, right? Lu Yuan didn't hide it and said with a smile, it's a cat person. The corner of Shui Wang's mouth twitched, and the way he looked at Lu Yuan became even stranger. Male or female? Lu Yuan looked at Shui Wang. Female, what's wrong? Shui Wang let out a dry cough. Does she look good? Lu Yuan thought about it. Yes, it's pretty good. Shui Wang's lips twitched. The cat girl rich lady is on the list. I'm so envious. Can you help me ask her if she has any sisters? Lu Yuan's face was full of black lines. You have a rich imagination. He knew what he was doing. He was just a chef. It just so happened that Yi Yi was a foodie, while his skills in roasting meat were passable and Yi Yi hadn't eaten it before. If not, how could he hug onto Yi Yi's thigh? Lu Yuan knew his own limits. Don T. We're on such good terms, shouldn't you take care of your brother when you're eating meat? Get lost. Shui Wang pouted and mumbled something that he did not know what to say as he continued to count. Very quickly, he finished counting the items. Alright, the total is 14.18 million. I'll transfer it to you. Shui Wang operated for a while, and Lu Yuan immediately received a text message notification that he had received the money. I've received it. Lu Yuan took a look at the message and then looked at Shui Wang. Don't tell me you're having some difficulties. Do you need my help? Although I might not be able to help. Shui Wang smiled and waved his hand, I don't have any difficulties. You're thinking too much. Lu Yuan nodded and said no more. Then I'll take my leave first. Lu Yuan left the material store and Shui Wang continued to pack his things. On the evening of the second day, Lu Yuan continued to enter the land of origin. His body appeared in the forest. He had been gone for more than 2 days since he left that night. They were not far from Heaven Luo City. They would definitely be able to reach the land of origin. A hint of excitement flashed in Lu Yuan's eyes. They were finally here. He had spent more than a month on the road. It was really too far. Lu Yuan turned into a stream of light and continued on his way while killing level 1 fierce beasts. A few days later, Lu Yuan was moving in the forest when he suddenly heard a roar from afar. There was a battle. Lu Yuan was stunned. He leaned towards the direction of the battle curiously. Soon, Lu Yuan was close to the battle area. He hid behind a huge tree and observed in the dark. In the dense forest, 3 kobolds and 3 3-meter tall giants with stone-like light gray skin were attacking the human in the middle. The human in the middle was a petite girl with long light purple hair. The young girl was extremely beautiful. Her pretty face had a bit of baby fat, her eyes were very big, and there was a mysterious light purple color in them. Her small mouth was red, and her nose was straight. At this moment, she was frowning and her face was full of anger. However, even her angry expression did not seem to be lethal. On the contrary, it made people feel that she was cute. This appearance was not inferior to Yi Yi's. Lu Yuan, who was observing in the dark, could not help but widen his eyes. He had to admit that he was a little stunned. But Lu Yuan glanced at the young girl's figure, and the corner of his mouth twitched, revealing a trace of regret. The young girl was not tall, but she had an airport runway at such a young age. She was undoubtedly a rich woman. At this moment, the purple-haired girl shot out purple vines from her hands, and vines also shot out from the trees around her. All the vines protected her, blocking the attacks of the three kobolds and the light gray giant. At the same time, they would also tie up a kobold or light gray giant from time to time and throw them out. Lu Yuan felt a powerful aura from the girl, which was even comparable to his. He looked at the purple vine with a strange expression. Could she be another genius who had inherited some transcendent gene? I'm so lucky. How could he meet two geniuses of this level so easily? Chapter 99. Amy Aljabai. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 99. Amy Aljabai. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. Lu Yuan then looked at the 6 people surrounding the purple-haired girl. Lu Yuan was very familiar with the kobold. After all, he had encountered it several times. Seeing the light gray giant, Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly. Come on, people. Because he was leaving the Sandstone City, Lu Yuan had done a lot of homework before and had a certain understanding of the races of the White Cloud State. The Come On people were one of the races of the White Cloud continent. Among the 4 initial human cities, Bone City had the Come On people. He didn't expect them to be with the kobold. These 6 kobolds and Come On people were very strong, all of them at level 1. From their auras, 1 kobold and 1 Come On were even elite warriors, and they had been refined to a high degree. Even Lu Yuan could feel some pressure from them. Among the 6 people, some used water arrows, some weapons had a gray-white light to increase their strength, and Lu Yuan even saw a kobold using the petrified skin combat skill. This girl should have come from Sandstone City like him. Although the 6 kobolds and the Come On people were unable to break through her defenses, the purple-haired girl did not seem to have a strong offensive ability and could not do much to them. Every time she used the vines to tie someone up, a Come On with a heavy sword would use a gray-white light to cut the vines. As time passed, the purple-haired girl's face began to turn pale. The purple vine was no longer as agile as before. It was obvious that he was exhausted because his physical and spiritual energy was limited. A kobold with flames burning on his battle-axe looked at the purple-haired girl with a sinister smile. Human, run. Keep running. If you have any other trump cards, just use them. The Come On, whose sword was glowing with a gray-white light, sneered. I didn't expect to catch such a big fish. This human actually has so many potions and curses. So many of our brothers have died this time. As long as we kill her, we should be able to earn back the losses. The purple-haired girl's brows were tightly furrowed, and her face was slightly red from anger. She glared at the kobold and Come On in anger. Just you wait. When I get to Heaven Luo City, I will kill you 100 times. Ha 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 ha. We'll talk about it when you get to Heaven Luo City. The kobold laughed without a care. Lu Yuan saw this and frowned slightly. He held his heavy sword tightly and planned to help. This was not because Lu Yuan was cheap. He coveted that girl's body mainly because they were both humans. If they were besieged by alien races, Lu Yuan felt that he should help if he could. Please call him the messenger of justice. The warrior of light. It was because of those who did not believe in light that darkness appeared. Although the 6 kobolds and Cayman were strong, he was not weak either. The purple-haired girl was also quite strong. If it were not for the fact that her vines lacked destructive power, the kobolds and Cayman would not have been enough to kill her. From what the kobolds and Cayman said, this purple-haired girl seemed to have quite a few potions and talismans. However, they had all been used up. No one knew how many of them had died. Lu Yuan stopped thinking about it. He narrowed his eyes and clenched the heavy sword in his hand. He bent his legs slightly and stomped on the ground. Boom! His body shot out like an arrow and charged towards the nearest kobold man. Lu Yuan's sudden appearance shocked everyone on the battlefield, and they turned their attention to him. Especially the kobold man who was attacked. His eyes widened slightly, and his expression was grave. Human. You think I'm easy to deal with? He held a huge two-handed sword and slashed at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan narrowed his eyes, a sharp glint flashing in them. Just as he was about to dodge and counterattack, a purple vine quickly wrapped around the kobold man's hands like a snake, and his slashing action stopped. What? The kobold with the huge sword was extremely shocked. Lu Yuan was pleasantly surprised when he saw this. Beautiful. He gave the purple-haired girl a thumbs up for her quick reaction and accurate interference. It was very powerful. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and red light flashed across his body. The red copper light circulated and burst out with full power. Woo 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 woo. The reddish sword light slashed the dog-headed man's neck. His head flew into the sky, and blood gushed out. Damn it. But face. Lu Yuan's surprise attack was too fast, and the purple-haired girl's reaction was also beyond everyone's expectations. They had never expected that a wave of surprise attacks would actually cause one of the dog-headed people's heads to fly up. Everyone's eyes widened and they were instantly enraged. Humans again. Let's kill them all. The two kobolds and the three Cayman looked at each other. They had a clear division of labor. 3 of the Cayman would deal with the purple-haired girl, while the remaining 2 kobolds would charge towards Lu Yuan. The besieged Amy Aljabai was already in despair. They were about to reach Heaven Luo City, but they didn't expect to be besieged by a foreign race. If it wasn't for the fact that her genetic combat skills were powerful enough, and she had many potions and killing curses on her, she wouldn't have been able to hold on for long. Even so, she had used up all her talismans and potions and killed more than 20 of the enemy's people. Her stock was almost used up. She would die sooner or later after her physical strength was exhausted. Amy Aljabai gritted her teeth, feeling extremely angry. If she hadn't encountered a rank .2 beast leader before and used a lot of potions and talismans to escape, resulting in a small number of potions and talismans, she could have directly smashed all these people to death with the talismans. Chapter 100. Amy Aljabai 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 100. Amy Aljabai 2. Translator. Dragon Boat Translation Editor. Dragon Boat Translation. However, just as she was in despair, a young man rushed in to help. As a genius of the Aljabai family, she had received combat training a long time ago and had rich combat experience. Naturally, she knew what she was going to do at the first moment. Naturally, she didn't even think about it and immediately assisted the youth in controlling his opponent. The attack was effective. Now that the remaining 5 outsiders had split into 2 groups, her light purple eyes flickered as she looked at the young man and said, "I'll support you, and we'll break them one by one." Lu Yuan looked at the 2 kobold men pouncing at him and narrowed his eyes. Just as he was about to fight them head-on, he heard Amy's voice. Lu Yuan was stunned. He looked up at Amy and found that she was also looking at him. "All right." Lu Yuan smiled and nodded. "Sure." Amy raised her little hand, and purple vines spread out like a spider web, rushing toward the 5 kobolds and come on. Most of the vines were aimed at the 2 kobolds Lu Yuan was facing. If it was before, we would be worried, but now. How much strength do you have left? The come on with the heavy sword laughed, and the heavy sword glowed with a gray-white light, slashing through the air, cutting down many vines. Amy's brows furrowed upon seeing this. She had used up too much of her energy, and the vines were now much weaker. When Lu Yuan saw this, he understood the current situation. Based on the purple-haired girl's current situation, the reason she was able to kill the kobold person was clearly because she caught him off guard. Now that the other party had reacted, it would be too difficult to achieve the desired effect. However, Lu Yuan's expression did not change at all. Other than the two leading kobolds and the come on, the others posed no threat to him. When the two kobolds approached Lu Yuan and were about to attack, Lu Yuan stomped on the ground and disappeared from his spot. He appeared behind the weaker kobold man and slashed his heavy sword at the kobold man's neck with a sharp sword light. The kobold man holding the flame battle axe narrowed his eyes, revealing a hint of shock. What? He did not expect Lu Yuan's speed to increase by another level. Stop! The kobold man roared and swung his battle-axe at Lu Yuan. The burning flames caused a burning smell to appear in the air. Lu Yuan's expression did not change. He did not even move. The torrent ring in his hand flashed with a dark blue light. A water arrow was shot at the battle axe. Woo 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 woo. The battle-axe paused, and the attack weakened a lot. The rank 0 leader-level water arrow was still slightly inferior to the attack of a rank 1 elite warrior, but it could also reduce the power of the attack by a lot. Lu Yuan's heavy sword had already cut through the kobold man's neck. Fresh blood spurted out as the kobold man's body swayed and fell to the ground. Seeing that Lu Yuan didn't dodge and just killed his companion, the kobold man's eyes turned bloodshot. You're looking for death. He forcefully increased his strength and the battle-axe struck the armor on Lu Yuan's shoulder. Boom! A loud boom was heard. The flames on the flaming battle-axe engulfed Lu Yuan. A smile had just appeared on the kobold man's face when a jet-black sword light streaked across the air, slashing towards the kobold man's neck. The kobold man's fur stood on end, and his pupils contracted violently. He only had time to dodge to the side. Woo 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 woo. The heavy sword cut through the kobold man's leather armor on his left arm. The leather armor could not withstand Lu Yuan's heavy sword at all. With the sound of silk tearing, blood spurted out and a hideous wound appeared on the kobold man's left arm. Ah! The kobold warrior roared in pain and retreated. His forehead was covered in cold sweat as he looked at Lu Yuan, who was slowly walking out of the flames, in shock and doubt. When he saw that Lu Yuan only had a crack on his armor and was not injured at all, his eyes widened in disbelief. This is impossible. How can you not be injured after being hit by my flame cut? Lu Yuan looked at the cracks on the armor and a hint of heartache flashed in his eyes. The repair fees are very expensive, okay? He raised his head and looked at the kobold man. He smiled and said, your attacks are quite comfortable. To be honest, this kobold person's refinement had already reached 80% of its first stage. The power of the flame cut was extraordinary. If it had been the flame cut that he had used at full strength at the beginning, Lu Yuan felt that he would have been injured. Unfortunately, the water arrow had blocked the attack, and the power of the attack had been greatly reduced. In addition, his leader-class armor had blocked the attack. How could he be injured so easily? The three Cayman in the distance also saw the situation. Their eyes widened in shock. Even Amy was surprised. After all, Lu Yuan's spirit chi fluctuation was not particularly strong, so his degree of refinement should not be very high. She did not expect that he could take the full force attack of an elite warrior who had refined deeply and still remain unscathed. How strong was his defense? The atmosphere fell silent. The elite come-on warrior's expression turned ugly. Damn it! Another tough one. Retreat. That human woman was already very difficult to deal with. They had lost so many people and still could not capture her. They had even used up all their trump cards. Now, there was another extremely powerful Lu Yuan. The elite Cayman were not confident that they could take the two of them. The three Cayman wanted to retreat, but Amy's chubby little face turned cold. Still thinking of running? Have you asked this young lady? She opened her hand and purple vines shot out, spreading towards the three Cayman. Seeing this, Lu Yuan looked at the elite kobolds, planning to end the battle quickly. He took out a few bottles of medicine and drank them. Strength potion, speed potion, and defense potion. In addition to the rank 1 powerful potion, which was his trump card, Lu Yuan also bought many high-quality potions as a regular means of outbreak. What he was drinking now was a superior potion. Lu Yuan's strength was too strong. After drinking the excellent grade potion, Lu Yuan's strength only increased by 10%, his speed increased slightly more, and his defense increased less than 10%. However, Lu Yuan's strength was already strong enough. After drinking the potion, the aura around him became stronger. The expression of the elite kobold opposite him changed drastically, and he turned to run. As for the three Cayman who were stopped by the purple vines, they had originally wanted to give up on him and escape. How could they expect him to save them? Are you dreaming? Lu Yuan saw that the kobold warrior had turned around and was about to run. He smiled and his body disappeared from where he was standing. In an instant, he appeared behind the kobold warrior and slashed down with his heavy sword. The elite kobold warrior's pupils shrank as he roared, "Human! I've already given up. Don't force me to risk my life." The battle.ax in his hand was burning with flames as he slashed at the ape. A cold glint flashed in Lu Yuan's eyes, but he remained expressionless. The warhorse and the battle axe collided. Boom! The elite kobold warrior's pupils shrank as the roar echoed, and he was forced to take a few steps back. Damn it! How can you be so powerful? What do you think? Lu Yuan grinned. Guess. With 3 levels of black steel strength, Lu Yuan's strength was not much weaker than his defense. Coupled with the effects of the strength potion, they were almost equal. Even the assault-type elite kobold warriors were slightly inferior. He once again disappeared from his spot and launched an attack on the elite kobold warrior. The elite kobold warriors' greatest strength was suppressed, and their speed and defense were completely suppressed. After barely resisting a few attacks with his combat experience, the elite kobold warrior was cut in the neck by Lu Yuan and lost his life. After killing the elite kobold warrior, Lu Yuan turned to look at the three Cayman. At this moment, Amy had stopped the three Cayman with purple vines at all costs. Lu Yuan stomped on the ground and a shallow pit appeared. He turned into a black shadow and rushed towards the three Cayman. Lu Yuan's powerful aura pressed down on the three Come-On people. Their hearts turned cold and a trace of panic flashed through their eyes. They had seen with their own eyes that the elite kobold man was killed by Lu Yuan in a few rounds. Stop him! The sword-wielding Come-On roared.